Transitioning between scenes. How do we do it? What's the deal? I've got a game here that I've made. A lot of the creation of this game is in video. It's not a full like devlog, but it's I've been using this for other projects, like command video stuff. So the code's a little bit more advanced, but that's fine because we don't care about it. We have our level 1. We have level 2. We have a message on my phone. And we have a main menu. Problem with the main menu, got a big button, doesn't do anything. So, I want this button to start the game, and I want to do that by changing to another scene. And then when I am in a scene, I want to be able to win, and when I win, we turn off our scene view. There it is. I want this panel to also have a button that says, hey, go to the next game. And this is just a game object that gets enabled when I win. The code for that part, not what we're covering here. Presumably you have some game of your own that has some code somewhere that knows when the player won. I'm showing a screen and letting the player click a button, but maybe you just immediately go to the next scene when the player collides with the exit or whatever. Doesn't really matter. So we need some code to manage moving between scenes. And moving between scenes, that's the whole kit and caboodle. So to manage moving between scenes, your instinct might be, let's create a scene manager. And so you'd create a script, C# script, and you might call it scene manager. Unwittingly at this point, we've already broken it. And that is because of namespaces. In order to change between scenes, we need to use a Unity feature that is in the Unity engine.scene management namespace called scene manager. But if we name our class scene manager, then we need to suddenly learn how to specifically reference a different namespace so that we can use their scene manager. There's my autocompletes. So now I have all the Unity stuff here in the Unity scene manager, but if it was mine, and if I didn't have that, it would just be referring to this actual script. It wouldn't be referring to the Unity class. It would be referring to my class because it is the more specific namespace. So I recommend we just don't call our thing a scene manager. So I'm going to delete that. And we can avoid having to go learn about namespaces. You should still go learn about namespaces. That's the better solution to this problem. But we're going to just call it something else. We're going to call it level manager. I almost just typed scene manager again. We'll call it level manager. Because we're managing our levels. All right. So let's do the most basic one first. Let's write a restart level feature. And restart level will do exactly that. We'll make it public for reasons that will be clear in a second. So I need to use the scene manager that is in the Unity engine.scene management namespace. So in order to use that, I need to go up here and type using autocomplete using Unity engine.scene management. You may have seen this before if you've messed with UI. You've had to use UI. It's all in that namespace. What's nice about our IDE tools is if I autocomplete scene manager, you may note that it will just add that for you. This auto completion can throw us off if I try to use. Get out of here. If I try to use, like say random, I might use the random class that exists in the Unity engine namespace, I might use the random class that exists in the system namespace, or I might use the random class that exists in the unity.mathematics namespace. And if I type system, this autocomplete, like if I just hit enter on the wrong one, I'll autocomplete the wrong one, and it will help me, but I did it on accident, so it's actually hurting me, and I don't realize because I'm on line 500, and this is not happening up on line 5, and so we got to be careful about that. All these comments you see on my screen, this like initial commit stuff, that's just because this project is in Git. It's in you can see all my source code on GitHub, and you can go check it out. I'll link that. Okay, so to restart the level, we need to use the scene manager class in the scene management namespace. And then from here, we have a number of functions that are the things we're actually going to use. And the one we want is load scene. There are two, load scene and load scene asynchronously. Load scene asynchronously, we'll just start running it in the background and continue executing calling the code below you, which is really useful if we have a little loop that is checking on that status and then moving a progress bar as that loading happens. And then when it's done, then it moves on. And you do that with a coroutine, and then you can get progress bars and stuff instead of just the game freezing while the scene loads. But for us, the game freezing while the scene loads, it's fine, and it's a lot simpler. So we're going to do it that way. But in a real world scenario, you might want to have some middle manager scene that is loads and unloads other scenes and can do things like progress bars. The load scene function takes two arguments. One of them is optional, so it takes one argument, and that is either the build index or the scene name or scene path. You can define its name as just the name of the scene or a full path to the scene. But this is as a string, and this is as an integer. So if we just give it the name of our if I'm on level 1 scenes, I've added an empty game object here called level manager. If I where am I? Level 1. I didn't add on this one. Level manager. Hide all that. So if I'm on level 1 and I want to reload the scene, I need to give it the name level 1. So we'll add our level manager here. I'll put it at 0 because it's an invisible object, and it should just be at 0. Level 1. There we go. And then we want to restart the level if input.get key down, key code.r restart level. There we go. Push the R button, restart the level in update. So now if this is in my script, I'm on level 1 and I hit play, I should be able to press R on my keyboard and restart. Look at that. Oh my gosh, love not having to quit and relaunch games in order to play them again. Love that code. I highly recommend everyone put this, at least this much in their game, but not yet. Oh, we're not done yet because this isn't a good solution, this level 1. Because I can no longer use this script if on level 2. Right? If I go to level 2, and I add the level manager, I'm going to have 2 errors. And the first one is more obvious. It will load the other level. But it didn't because of an error I got before then, which we're going to cover in just a second. But this will only work on level 1. So how do we solve that? Well, one way we could do it is we could make a we could ask for what the current level is as a string that we could change in the inspector. And then here on level 2, I could go in here and I could type level 2. And on level 1, I could go here and type level 1. And that should work. And it does. But that's silly because why should I have to type all that? Why should me, the human being, have to know what the current scene is? Can't I just throw this script into a scene and have it just work? It feels better, and the current level feels like some information I can get programmatically and not something I would need to input manually. And as it turns out, there is another, well, let's do it this way. current level equals scene manager dot get active scene dot name. And this will get the current scene's name. Now I don't need this variable, so hold on to that for me. I'll just throw that in here. And this is a much better piece of code because now I can have this level manager on any scene, and when I restart, I will load the scene with the name of whatever the current scene's that is active's name is. And that's what I want. So let's test that we fixed it. Level 1, we can restart. Level 2. We can restart. Great. So now I want to go from level 1 to level 2. I don't want to restart the current scene. I want to go to the next scene. Let's take that idea, that behavior, that I want to go somewhere else, and let's put it into a function that we can just call. Because the problem of when do I go to the next scene and how do I go to the next scene, those are two different problems. And by taking our code and separating things and compartmentalizing it, it allows us to treat these as two separate problems, where the how do I go to the next scene is something I can deal with here. I can write the code that solves that problem. And the when do I go to the next scene is the problem I can figure out dependent on my game, whatever it is, the button press and how to hook that up. And if I just call this public function and it already knows how to do it and it can figure it out. So to go to the next scene, we want to use this function again. Now we need to know what the next scene is. And now we might want to implement something like what we did before. And type that string out. Now we're going to change this because this isn't a very good solution, but it would work and it would be functional. So let's see. If I'm on this level in level 1, I have one script, level manager, and I can say next level should be level 2. And if you have a consistent naming scheme, like if you just number your scenes, maybe it isn't even that bad. Level 2, level 1. We'll go back. I only have 2 levels here. But it's not going to work. So let's add a little cheat code for ourselves so I don't need to beat the level. I'm going to use N for go to next scene here. So if I just press the N key, it will go to the next scene, which is nice. It's nice to have little developer cheat codes. It's kind of where cheat codes came from. So here I press N and it doesn't work. I get the error. But as time and again, I recommend you read your error messages because this error message is going to tell us exactly how to solve the problem. First, down here at the bottom, that's no good. I want this console to be open. I want to be reading things in my console. I like having, move it over so that you can see it. And let's take a look here. Scene level 2 could not be loaded because it has not been added to the build settings or the asset bundle. To add a scene to the build settings, use the menu File, Build Settings. Cool. I don't need to teach you that. Unity just taught you the solutions to the problem in the error message. Now, I am going to teach you that. The problem is that we didn't have the scene in the build settings. So we need to add it by going to File, by going to Build Settings. Okay. Unity keeps a list of all of the scenes that will include in its final build. And it keeps this list here. See this rectangle? That's a list. You can tell because it looks like a rectangle. You can't tell, but let's go ahead and drag and drop our scene files into that slot. Now it actually looks like a list. Great. When you have a larger project, this list can you'll have a scroll bar and it'll be a lot longer. But this is all the scenes that will be included in the build, and Unity will search through your project when it creates a build and it won't include any of the assets or things that we're not using in the scenes that are in this list. So to look for every single asset, every single script, every single whatever that is referenced by some game object in these scenes, or in a special folder with a certain name, resources, and it will include it in your finished project build. And that's great. So then we can not include our testing scenes, and then our build won't be larger than it needs to be. Okay. the list here is also how the load scene function finds the scene to load. It doesn't search through your project, it just searches through this list. It knows about the currently loaded scene already, which is why the restart worked. But otherwise, it has to search through this list in order to find the scene that it wants. It has two ways to do that. It can look for the name of it, or it can look for the build index, which is now, we know what that means. It is going to be the position in this list. You can see I have 0, 1, put the menu in here, 0, 1, 2. In my build, whatever is at the top of the list will be the scene that launches. So for our beginner little games, this will probably be a main menu with a start button or just the first level. But for other more advanced and larger projects, this will be some loader initiator scene that's like going to pull the player's save file and then load up the correct scene and do some other stuff. Maybe the same scene that shows a progress bar. Okay, so now that they're in the build settings, double check that, main menu, level 1, level 2. Now that they are in the build settings, we can hit play again and press N on the keyboard to go to the next level. And look at that, I made it to the next level. Press N again to go to the next level, which I have defined as just back to the other one. And I am back and forth. Level 1, level 2. Great. I win. Did not do that. Did not do that well. Okay. So now we have a function we can call to go to the next level. And we can make it public so that I can call it from somewhere else, and I can let something else determine when and how what going to the next level means. So let's do that on the main menu. On the main menu, let's add that to that script. Let's say our next level is level 1, and now I just need to call that function in order to start the game. And what is the when I want to start the game? It's when this button is pressed. So on the button, and you've maybe not seen this yet if you're watching this video, this on-click feature of the button object in the UI, but this video isn't really about UI, so I'm going to go quickly through this part. But one nice thing about buttons is that we can use this. It's called a Unity event. It's a serialized method call, whatever that means. It is a way to call functions from the inspector. Not really from the inspector, but you tell it what function to call from the inspector. And then when the button is pressed, it will call all the functions that are in this list of functions to call. And that's really nice. I love using the little Unity events for things like hooking up a sound system or hooking up audio and particles and feedback stuff. So let's drag our level manager into this slot. And then I have a drop-down list of all of the components on the game object here. Level manager, transform, and the game object itself. So my drop-down list here, it knows about all these things. In my level manager, I have a list of all of my functions. Many of them are built into mono behavior, but here's one, go to next level. Here's another restart level that I can define right here. So without writing any code, I can have the start game button call that go to next scene. Did I call it go to scene or go to next level? Go to next scene. I don't want to rename that. Anyway, start game. Cool, we went to the next level. And now we just need to do the same thing here when you win. So for me, in my game, that's just going to be adding another. When I left play mode, I went back to the scene that was here before. I got to go to my scene. That's just going to be, for me, it's going to be going to my little canvas prefab. And let's uncheck this pause menu. Let's go to the victory menu and let's add a button and do it just the same. UI button next level, and we will have that go down, and I'll put the level manager on the canvas, and next level will be level 2. Well, I'm in our prefab, so I'll need to change that, so we'll leave that empty here. Next level, and then the button will on-click, put that on the canvas, and it will go level manager, go to scene. And then on my heads-up display, just while I'm at it, I already made a restart button, and it needs to level manager restart level. Great. So now I have that button. Now I just need to go to the canvas and tell on level 1, level 2, and I got to remember I got to get my capitalization perfect. And then on level 2, I'll say the next level is, well, I'm actually not using this one anymore. I'm going to the managers, canvas. Here's the level manager script. I want is main menu. And then, right, so I'm showing you kind of a weird way to do it because we're going to replace this in a second. Not that one. There's one on my canvas and level 2. Okay. So if I win the level, I should have this thing pop up, and I can click on it, and then my heads-up display also does not work, but I don't care about that right now. Why didn't it work? Restart button. Oh, I didn't save the change? Restart. Apply to prefab. Apply to prefab. Okay. This is also a nesting prefab, which kind of stinks. But great. Okay. So that's one way to do it, is just with some UI buttons. But we got to know about UI. The other way to do it is I could have had my game manager, which has the code for when you win. Instead of doing the whole pop-up message thing, I could just be like, find object of type level manager dot go to next scene, right? And now we'll just instantly go to the next scene when you win, because we're taking the level manager, which we really should store in a variable and not do a find, but whatever. And we're just calling that function at the appropriate time. Okay. Ooh, complicated code. Look out. It's going to bite you. Okay. That is scene management. But it sucks. Because we have to go through every single one of our scenes and tell it what the next scene is. So if I have 5 scenes and they are in increasing orders of difficulty, and then I make a new one and I play test, and it turns out the scene I thought was going to be hard is easy, and the scene that I thought was going to be easy is hard, so I want to change the order of them. Well, now I need to go change the scene before the one, and then I got to go change that scene and tell it to go to this scene, then I got to change this scene. Like, that would be really difficult and annoying to edit. And I just want it to automatically go to the next scene, whatever that scene is. So I need to store and save somewhere some list of scenes or array of scenes. Now, if we know about lists and arrays, we could store them in our level manager as an array and keep an index, and then increase that index and go to the next one. And then we just make the level manager a prefab that we put in every scene, and then we can update the prefab with the list, and it will update everything. There's a catch, is like, how do we know what the current level is? Because that we have to change that number to the current number. So it doesn't actually help us that much. It could help us. It's one way to do it, but it doesn't. Instead, we're going to use the easiest way that I know how to do this, is we're going to use the build index as a list of our scenes in order. So instead of just adding things to this list willy-nilly, we're going to use this build index list order here to control our scene movement. So all I have to do is reorder the scenes in this list, and they will reorder as they appear in my game. This is perfectly fine for small projects. In larger projects, you tend to want to do something else. And I got some other videos on some other ways to approach it. I like to use scriptable objects in my projects. So let's rewrite this. So what we need to do is get the current level build index increase it by 1, and then go to that build index. So to get the current level build index, we're going to use this scene manager.getActiveScene function, but instead of calling name, we're going to call .build index. Great. And then to increase it by 1, we could type current ++ or current plus equals 1 or current equals current +1. But I'm actually going to do this because current should mean current and next should mean next. So I want my variable names to continue meaning what they are. So we'll get the current level, we'll increase it by 1, and then we'll go to that build index. Next. And here I'm just, we're just putting this integer value right here in load scene. 1, 0, 1, 2. All right, let's test it. Let's start on the main menu. And notice that I don't need to go update anything in my project. Well, it didn't work. Did it work? Current is the active scene.build index. Int next equals current +1. Oh, I typed this as an example. And then we want to go to the next one. I'm losing my mind. I was like, how did this not work? Okay. So we go and we get to the next one, and then I can press N, my little cheat code here, to get to the last one. And here I want to click on next level. But what's going to happen? Because this is level 2, its build index is 2, and I'm going to go next. It's going to try to load build index 3. There is no scene with build index 3. Oh no. So one way to solve that is to make a scene called You Win and put some text on it that says You Win and then make it the last scene, but don't give you a way to change levels. You're just, the game's over. That's one solution. But let's be a little bit less error prone. And let's just loop back to the start. We'll just loop back to the main menu. So I need to get the total number of builds in my scene. And luckily, scene manager.scene count in build settings is a variable that stores exactly that information. So this should tell me 3. And because I have main menu, level 1, level 2, at indexes 0, 1, 2. So I need to make sure that I only go to the build index if the variable I'm trying to go to is smaller than my total, right? If it's 0, 1, or 2, I'm good. But if it's 3, which is the same, or 4 or 5, which is greater than or equal to, then it won't work. So I need to be smaller than my total. That's just because arrays start counting at 0. So else on the last scene manager.load scene. Let's go back to the start. In this case, we do want that. I could have written this if statement differently, so I'm not calling scene manager twice. I just set next to be 0, right? Something like if next is greater than or equal to, right? I like this code a little bit better just because I only have one function call. So if I change my code to use that asynchronous thing and to do like a level manager stuff, a progress bar and stuff, then I only need to make that change like once, right? I only change the actual thing here, right? First, I'm figuring out what the next scene build index should be, and after I'm done figuring that out, I load it. It's fine. It's whatever. Just trying to, if the code works, it works. Nothing actually matters. So let's try it now. So we're on level 1. We hit start game, cheat code N. Level 2, cheat code N. Back to the main menu. Excellent. So now we have a little main menu script that we have this function we can call whenever we want on any scene we want. And to add a new scene, I'm going to duplicate level 2, Control D to duplicate, rename it to level 3, open it up, hide that, and we'll make a new level. Oops, not this. I don't want this. Go away. We'll make a new level. 2D tile palette. There. An easier level. Okay, great. Love it. And I do all my level design and make a nice, fun Sokoban game. All I need to do is add this level 3 into my build settings. And later when I decide that level 3 isn't as hard as level 2, I reorder it or whatever, which is why I generally don't name my scenes as numbers like this. I usually name my scenes somewhat descriptively of like what the level is. For like puzzle games, I have 50 puzzles, but I know which one is, the laundromat puzzle and which one is the pancake stack I don't know, whatever. And then I can figure out their difficulty sort of separate from that. Because as it turns out, I'm not very good at guessing how hard my levels are when I make puzzle games. But playtesting gives me the answers to that question. So, but then, at the end of the day, if you have your final level list, but it like looks out of order, like 2, 1, 3, it's like, yes, that's the correct, that's silly. So I avoid the problem by not numbering them in their names. Whatever. Okay, so that's loading levels. This code will be available. It's available on GitHub. I'll link it somewhere. And that's it. That's what I got for you. Okay, bye.